Righto guys, well we'll get started. I like to start on time. If anyone else comes in, they can just come into the room whenever. There's come some more now. For those that don't know me, my name's Aaron. I co-organise the Brisbane Internet Meetup group with Nigel. We're both internet entrepreneurs, and this group's all about just sharing knowledge in the internet online business space. So for tonight, I wanted to talk about reputation management, because we haven't covered this probably in about 2 years, and I thought it'd be a good time to just touch base on reputation management. So thank you all for coming and being on time. So we'll just get straight into it. Right, what is it? I guess you all know in the general sense what your reputation is out in the marketplace. I don't know whether you guys have businesses, whether they be online or bricks and mortar, or perhaps you've got a product out in the marketplace or a brand, or I don't know where you guys are at, but essentially everything has a reputation, as you know, and online your reputation is pretty well all that you have, because especially if you don't have a bricks and mortar face to the business or a product, then internet is it. So the bottom line is that it's your reputation that counts. So all it's about is there's positive and negative reputation, and obviously we all want the positive, and we certainly don't want much of the negative at all. And what's basically been happening over the last few years anyway is with the advent of Web 2.0, which is all user-generated content. In the past, users didn't have much of a voice, but now they do. So they have the ability to write on blogs, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, anywhere and anywhere that they can get their hands on. They can actually be saying either good things or bad things about you, and that's your reputation. So I've got up here just reputation of a brand, product, or a person, and it's as simple as that. How you go about dealing with all this sort of stuff, there's two sections to reputation management, and one of them is tracking. So how do you know what people are saying about you or your product or your brand, and then okay, how do you manage that? So if you know what it is that they're talking about, either good or bad, so what do you actually do? How do you actually manage that reputation? So tonight we'll be talking about tracking. I'll run you through some concepts on how to track and some tools to use that you can just go ahead and use straight away. Management. There's two types of management. There's being proactive about your reputation, or there's being reactive about your reputation. And you actually need both. You actually do need both, because there'll come a time where you will actually have to be reactive. Someone has said something about you that you don't like, or your product or your brand, you'll have to react to that. Most other times you'll be being proactive. You'll be being out in the marketplace and trying to avoid having people say bad things about you. So let's talk about tracking. I always say you can't fix what you can't measure. I know other people have said that, but I honestly believe that. So if you're not actively searching for or being alerted to what it is that you're trying to protect the reputation of, then you don't even know what's going on out there. People could be saying things every single day, either bad-mouthing you, saying good things. Either way, you don't know what they're saying. So you also can't sit there on Google or Yahoo or Bing and do searches every day, typing in your product or your brand or your name, trying to work out who said what. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. You'd be there forever. So you need to use tools to automate and track that. And I'll briefly just show you Google Alerts. This is a very basic coverage. Google Alerts is another one of Google's great tools that they have, and it allows you to type in a keyword or phrase or search term, and what it will do is it will collect all the search results for that term, and it will feed it into an RSS feed. So if you don't know what that is, I'll explain it. We'll go down here. So if you go to google.com alerts/alerts, that'll get you to Google that'll get you to the Google Alert system. And then here you can type in a phrase. Does anyone want me to use an example tonight? If anyone's got a product or a brand or a name or anything that they want to use as an example, does anyone have an example to use? I don't mind. Can be anything.
I've just got cloud computing set up at home. There's one of mine.
Yep. Anyone want to track a name or anything like that? Doesn't have to be yourself.
It's not myself. We're putting Conduit, Kondoot. It's a local Aussie startup that just started. I'm just curious.
Okay, let's have a go at that one. How do you spell it?
Kondoot.
That's it?
Yep.
That's it there?
Two results.
So we can have it once a day, only the best results, but I want it to go to a feed. Now, an RS...
Those two results are only for the last couple of days, not in its entirety. It's not the same as if you've done a Google search.
Yeah. Right. Hopefully not.
Yeah. So the objective here is I'll run you through the bigger picture of tracking, but the objective is you don't want it. You can have it go to your email inbox, but what I like to do is create what's called an RSS feed. So basically, all these little things that it finds over here, it'll create into a file, which is what's called an RSS feed, which is a simple method of combining a lot of information into an easy readable format. That Google has another tool that I'll show you, which is called Google Reader, which reads those feeds. So we're going to create a set of feeds, and we're going to use Google Reader to simply read those feeds. So it's a very quick and easy thing to do. You don't want some of your information, of your tracking information, going into an email inbox and some sitting over here and some over here. You want everything in one place so that you can quickly scan at the beginning or the end of the day, or whenever you like to do your tracking at the end of the week, just once a week or whatever it is you want to set up. And you just want to quickly scan down the list and see what people have said about you, whether it be good or bad. And that's what we're trying to build up here, is a tracking tool and a mechanism for checking your reputation quickly and easily in 1 or 2 or 3 or more goes, whatever you want to do. So what we're doing here is we're using Google Alerts, and we're going to create an alert, and it's going to be a type of feed. And I'll show you why soon. So we'll create that. Now I've got several feeds already that I track as Google Alerts, and there's the Conduit one there. And so see this little picture over here, this little feed icon, that's actually the feed address there. So alerts, feed, and some big long number. So if I grab that and I put that into my Google Reader, then every single item that shows up in that feed will appear in my Google Reader over time. So today there might be 2. Tomorrow it might find some other information about Conduit that it's found. So then it will put it in the feed. And it will just keep adding more and more information to the feed. And so you've got it in your Google Reader, and you've got all the past history, plus you've got all the new stuff that just keeps coming in each day. So the power of the feed is that it's just a file, and Google in this case will just keep adding more information to the bottom of that file. And you use the Google Reader. It all lives in Google, and Google will put it in the reader. But I'm not going to do that just yet. I'm going to show you one other trick. The interesting thing is that tracking through Google Alerts is great, and it will help you, but it's not everything. So what we want to do is we want to track other things. What are people saying on Twitter? What's happening on YouTube? What about eBay? Are people flogging your products off on eBay and you don't even know it? If you've got physical products or even digital downloads that can be spun off into DVDs or something like that. So, and there are other tools like Technorati and Dig and other sort of places such as what's another one? I'll bring up a little tool that I'll show you. A couple of years ago I wrote a little software script because I just couldn't keep up. So I added it to my little collection of things, and it's called Reputation Smart. And what it does is it collects information from all of these places: Google News, Google Blog, Yahoo News, Live Search, Twitter, Flickr, YouTube, so Technorati, Delicious, Dig, eBay, Blog Pulse, Blog Digger, Go Articles, Ice Rocket. So it's pulling in information from all those other different sources. This way I can keep a track of everything in one place without having to go to each one of these services and do a search. So if I was going to go to YouTube, I'd have to type Conduit on YouTube, and then I'd have to type Conduit into the Twitter search, and then I'd have to type Conduit over in the Delicious search. So I could be there for hours trying to search across all those products that are out there. So I ended up putting this together here. Let's just go back to the Google Alerts. I'm just going to copy that link to that RSS feed. Put it in there. How do you spell it again?
KONDOT.
Put that in there. You can search for it. It's been a while since I've updated these sources over here. It's time I need to do it again because Delicious is going away. Ice Rocket I think is dead. There's a few of those services that I need to flush out and maybe put even a couple of new ones in there. But for essential purposes, what's happened is that this has gone off to all those properties. It's done a search for that term in all the properties. It's pulled in the Google Alerts. So it's pulled this in from Twitter. It's pulled that in from the Google Alerts, which we collected from the Google Alerts first. Some bit more Twitter, some Bing action happening here. Bit more someone saying something here. More Twitter. More Bing. So you can just scroll down and see what's going on. Now, that's great, but you don't want to do that every day. So the next stage after this is, okay, well, what I've done here is I get all the RSS feeds. So I get my Google Alerts, I get my Twitter, I get YouTube, I get everything, and I mash it all together into one big RSS feed. So like I was saying before, Google Alerts is just an RSS feed where it's just a file and more information just keeps getting put inside it. This tool will simply mash a whole bunch of RSS feeds together into just one. And then that one RSS feed I can put in my Google Reader. And then at the end of the week or the day or whenever you like to check your reputation, you can just have a look at that. So let's grab that RSS feed now. Now let's open up Google Reader, and I'll show you Google Reader. So it all starts with Google Alerts because Google Alerts has a nice general base, and obviously Google Alerts is a direct tap into Google, and Google is the biggest search engine, so that's a great start. So we get our Google Alerts going, which pulls in a lot of information. Then we use either my tool, or you can go to Twitter and do your own bits and pieces. And then Google.com Reader. I spelled it wrong. Anyone ever seen that? That was worth it. See something new every day on the internet. Barnaby Googe. Okay, so here's the Google Reader. Now, I've got all my stuff categorized. So all you need to do to use Google is have a Google account. And I'm assuming that some of you might already have a Google account. It's free. You can sign up at any of the Google applications, like Gmail or anything, to get a Google account. So down the left-hand side here is all my RSS feeds. So this is my tool that I use to keep abreast of a lot of information very quickly. So I've got everything that I want to be interested in here. And I can simply use my phone or use iPad or anything like that, or just through the desktop version like this, and I can see exactly what's going on. These ones here are some of my feeds already that I'm looking at some of my products here and keeping tabs on what people are saying about my products. And all we need to do here is add in a feed, which will be the feed that I copied from Reputation Smart. I know I'm going fast, but I just want to show you how it sort of all hangs together. So here's the feed that we just put in. We pulled it in from Reputation Smart, which mashes together all the places on the internet that really you should be looking to see if people are talking about you. And then it shows you in a nice format here where you can come back each day or at the end of the week and have a look and see what people have said about you. And as you've read it, you can mark it as read. And it's just like going through your mail out of a letterbox. And you mark it as read, and then you don't have to think about that anymore. And if you see something here that strikes you as, oh, what is that? What has someone said on Twitter about me? You can then follow that link and go to Twitter and see who it was who said it, what they said, when they said it, at time and date stamps over there. And then the objective is you should be then trying to mitigate whatever's been said. But we've got to talk about that yet. This is just purely tracking. We're talking about tracking first. So you can see, okay, that's coming from Bing. If there was a YouTube there, it's got the little icons to make it a bit easier. But that's just using that search term that you wanted to see. So pretty simple stuff. So that's how I track multiple sites quickly, come into here, and the Reputation Smart system will update it every 24 hours. So it's not real time. If you've got a very high trending term, someone's really going off on your product and there's hundreds of terms, Reputation Smart, I've only got it set. It's a free thing that I put together for myself. Several other people use it as well, but because it's only free, I'm not going to let it sit there and all day long, every 2 hours, collecting information. So that there is a quick way for you to get around tracking. If you don't want to use that, as I said, Google Alerts will get you started, cover the bases. You can go to Twitter, you can type in a search there, and you can go to YouTube and you can type in a search there, and you're not going to get much out of Facebook because it's a closed system. So people can say what they want on Facebook and you would never know unless they write it on your page, on your Facebook page. Right, let's flick back. Where are we up to? Went on a bit of a tangent there. Okay, so we talked about that. RSS aggregation is all about pooling a lot of those RSS feeds together, like I said. That's where your time saving comes from. Google Reader is your friend because that's going to pool everything together and let you read not just this, but you can put other. So if you follow blogs or maybe a news site, they all have RSS feeds. RSS feeds is what the new generation of the Web 2.0 is driven by, and most sites that have content that updates a lot will have an RSS feed that you can grab and put into your feed reader. And I use this application here, iReadG, for the iPhone. I don't have an iPad yet, but it also has one for the iPad, and that's a really good feed reader for those mobile devices, because that will hook into Google Reader and it has a really nice interface. And it has a free version as well. That's tracking very quickly in a nutshell. So management. Now this is the other side of the equation. So we've tracked our results. We know what people are saying, good or bad. And now it's time for, okay, what do we do? So there's two aspects to this, as I said earlier in the piece. There's proactive and then there's reactive. So I want to just lead with proactive first. So if you've got a business that's online these days, I'm sorry to say, but you've got to be active in the social media space. If not just purely to keep abreast of what people are saying about you, you don't necessarily have to be active in that space, although it is a good thing to be at least marginally active in that space, and I'll get to why in a minute. But basically, you really need to be Twitter, Facebook, and depending on what your market is, I would say YouTube. And your intent is to be an authority in the business or the product or the brand that you're in. That's essentially what it all comes down to. You want to be the authority, because if anybody says anything about you and you're coming in cold, so you don't actually have an active Twitter account, and they're saying things about you on Twitter, how are you supposed to communicate in that medium if you don't have an account in that medium? So if somebody is saying something bad about you on your, say, your YouTube profile, you'll probably already have a YouTube account, but Twitter is a prime example, where it's a Web 2.0 property, and blogs are another one too. Prime example of where you might not be a part of it, but there's a lot of people that are. And if they're saying something about you, your product or your brand, then you want to be able to have the right of reply in that medium, because they're not getting on the phone, they're all just on Twitter. So it's important that you have an account in Twitter and at least have a little bit of content on there, rather than someone said something bad about me, I'll go and make an account on Twitter. They can see you have no followers, you have no posts, you absolutely have nothing there at all. Who are they to believe you? You're not a leader, you're not an authority in that in that marketplace. So you may be a customer defending the company. You might not be the company itself. So what I've got here is have a blog, producing great content, and show your authority. So obviously we're talking about online reputation management. So if you've got a product or a brand or a business, then you should have a website, and on that website you should definitely have your own blog. And the reason why I say that is because the more content that you have out there, the more authority you have in that space. If you've only got a 5-page website and all the other competitors in that marketplace have many more pages on top of you, then you're not an authority in that space. It's all about coming from a place of strength. What I've found is that people will shy away from necessarily saying bad things about you if they feel that they can come back, if you can come back onto them. So that's just human nature. The anonymity, thank you, of the web is a real problem. It is a real problem, and people feel they can say what they want and not have any form of rebuttal. And in this day and age, with the Web 2.0 mechanism of users having the ability to produce content, you also have the ability as a right of reply in that medium. If someone has said something about you on Google Places, for example, if you have a business that has an actual bricks and mortar fixed address, and you have a Google Places, and someone leaves a bad comment on a review of your business, you actually have the ability to have a right of reply. But if you haven't claimed your Google Places listing for your business, then you don't have the ability to reply to those people. That's it. What they say is it. So it's just a matter of being out there. If you're going to be online and have an online arm to the business or brand or whatever, you've got to be active in this space. It's just part of the game. The reason why you want to be here is because the web moves quickly. And if someone especially with Twitter and some of these other places, if someone said something about you, you want to be able to see it quickly and then at least have something to say about it quickly in reply to them. Not 6 weeks later, ooh, that was bad. And the snowball had happened and you weren't even there to see it. So if one person says a bad comment, okay, fair enough. then someone else jumps on the bandwagon if they have something else to say, and these things have snowballed in the past. And for bigger companies too, they haven't been immune, because some of these bigger companies haven't had anybody looking after this sort of aspect for them, and before they know where they are, there's a huge groundswell of people saying bad things about them, and if all they had to do was just be listening, they would have been able to either stop a campaign or change tact and avoid a lot of unpleasantness. And the bigger companies are learning. There's no doubt about it. They're actually putting people in positions of social media and reputation management positions, or hiring third-party companies to do it for them. Right, that's about being proactive to try and avoid these issues. So what about if someone has said something that's bad or negative? What do you do? So the objective here is that it depends on where that particular bad piece of information is. So if they've said something bad about you, your brand, or a product on their website, then you should be asking them to remove it, which sort of falls into the libel category, where you can seek some sort of legal course of action to get them to remove it. It's always best if someone has said something about you in on their own platform, then you can ask them to remove it. They may not, but you can at least ask. If they've said something on Twitter, or on somebody else's site, or another site that people just will not remove comments on, because that's not what they do. They believe that it's all free speech and that you can just write whatever you like. They're the ones that are going to stick around for a while. So we've got a couple of things here. You've got, like I've mentioned here, sorry for the spelling, Google Places, other review sites like Yelp, which is sort of not really here in Australia, but we have Urban Spoon. We have a couple of other review sites where people can leave reviews about you. Really the only way to remove bad reviews is to get more positive ones, to push those negative reviews off the page. So if you've got a negative review that comes in, you've already got 10 or so reviews there, you want to make sure that you get 20 reviews on top of that to push that negative one down. There really is no way, because they will not remove it. Google won't remove it. A few of the other places, they just will not remove it. So the only thing you can do is get more positive reviews. In the case of, if you have a Google search result that shows that is ranking, so if someone types in your product, your brand, or your person, and on that first page of the Google results there is a link that goes off to a page that has bad press about you or negative results about you, well, Google won't take that page away. It's up to you to put more positive results on top of it so that that negative result gets pushed down off the first page, because you don't have any control over that. Google will not take it off, Yahoo or Bing, unless there's been copyright infringement or digital media copyright issues. Then Google will act on the DMCA part, and a little bit on the infringement as well. But Google will only remove a page off their search results if that page, when you click on it, goes to a dead website or a dead page. So if someone's written something bad about you, brand or product, Google's got a hold of it, listed it in the search engines, you contact that other website and tell them to pull it down, they comply and pull it down, Google still has that listing up there for quite some time. It's just what happens. So if you click that link and it goes through to a dead page, then you can actually use the Google URL removal tool, which is in there. You can just do a search for it. That's the easiest way to find it, Google URL removal tool. And then they will remove that page, only if it goes to a broken page though. If it's a valid page, they're not just going to remove pages off their index. They just don't do that. So The only real way is stopping it at the source and pushing it down out of those, off the first page. Now, here's how to do that. So when I say organic negative listings, that's in Google, and Yahoo and Bing, where there'll just be someone's typed in maybe conduit, whatever it is, and then 3 or 4 spots down there'll be someone's written a blog post about how much it sucks and it's crap and it doesn't work and whatever. It's bad press and you don't want it there. The only way around it is using SEO, unfortunately, search engine optimization, and working out a way, how do I get that 4th placed search result off the first page down underneath, which is position 11 and lower, to get it off that first page, because people really only look on the first page anyway. So you only need to just get it down, get it off that first page. So with your own website, you can actually, depending on how you do your search engine optimization, but you're only allowed to get 2 links for each website on Google. You might have seen it where you have a search result and then just underneath it, a little bit indented, there'll be a second link which will go to the same website but a slightly different page. So that's 2 positions that you can use. A lot of the times when people are saying bad things about you, they've used specific words, and it's those specific words that you want to use in your good press to try and push down the bad press. So their ranking, their negative press is ranking in Google for a particular set of key terms. So if someone typed in conduit, which is just using that example that we used before, chances are if you've got a lot of good press out there, that the bad press won't sneak in on for that general term. But if it was, I don't know what the product is.
It's a social site.
Yeah. So if someone typed in conduit social networking doesn't work, that's the term that you would be targeting in your search engine optimization to put more of your good stuff on top of that negative result. It takes time, it's not easy, but it is doable. And the way how you do it is that you can create new websites. And when I've said here, create new country-based domains. So if you had a .com.au, you would go and get the .net.au as the alternative, and then populate that using whatever words are on that negative press page that you're trying to outrank. Because ultimately, your main objective here is to decide, is this hurting my business brand or my reputation such that I need to invest the time, energy and effort into getting it off that page? And in some cases, it won't be worth your time. So you just leave it and just keep putting out good content and being an authority in your marketplace, and it'll fix itself. But if it's actually hindering sales, that you've got sales off your website and the negative press has gone in there, you've got to do something about it. Web 2.0 properties, places like Squidoo, Tumblr, WordPress, these are all websites that you can create from scratch using what you see as what you get style editors, like editing with Word, and they'll give you a web property as something.tumblr.com. So they'll give you a subdomain and it'll create a website for you, and you can then populate it with content to try and push those listings down. Once you've set up these properties, you know you've got to you've got to own that first page of Google for whatever term you're trying to fix. So it's not going to be necessarily your brand, the actual brand, but it could be. And then down here, link building on all properties created. So unfortunately, just because you create a website, and I'm sure if you've got a website, just because you create it doesn't mean that A, Google knows about it, and B, people go to it or read anything from it. So you've actually got to promote it. So you've got to market your own website, you've got to market any new properties that you create, and you've got to do that via link building. And link building is an SEO term whereby essentially other properties on the internet point to your websites. So these new properties that you've created, essentially websites, they need to be pointed at. Google needs to know, hey, this is a new website and this website actually means something, and the only way to do that is by getting links to point into it. So if you don't know much about search engine optimization, you're not going to be able to do anything at all with this being able to be reactive with bad press. I'll take questions at the end if you just want to write them down, and we'll do big Q&A. Thanks. The main concept here is that I'm just, I guess, letting you know this is what you have to do in order to make this stuff happen. There are companies out there that will do link building for you, they'll do reputation management for you, but they'll charge you an absolute fortune to do it. So if all you get out of tonight is being able to track the reputation of your brand and your product or your name, and then becoming a part of the online community with Twitter and possibly having a blog, which is always a good thing, then if someone has said something about you on their blog, you can comment on that blog. You actually have the right of reply on that blog. And that's the beauty of a blog, is that it has actual comments featured underneath it. Hopefully they haven't turned the comments off. If they've turned the comments off, then you'll have to go back to the author and say, hey, you can't say those sort of things about us, and you may have to get legal involved. It's actually quite in-depth there, but that's just a broad stroke of how you push somebody, or it could be a competitor even, off the first page of Google. It's a lot of hard work, but if someone's saying something really nasty about you, you're going to have to do something about it. There's my details if you need to ask me any questions outside of tonight. But that was just a short, sharp and sweet little presentation on reputation management. So I know there was a couple of questions, so I'm happy to field any questions now. We can go back through any of the information as needed. So yeah.
Just in relation to the link building, does Google recognise things like the bit.ly shortcodes? So if you tweet that as a shortcode, does it still pick it up and realise it's going back through to, say, if you're going to do that, you've got to use your full link?
Yep. Yep. So the question was, I'll just repeat it for the video and the audio, link building, shortened links, do they count? The answer is no. Full links, and preferably no follow, but really doesn't matter as long as you get some links in there. Yeah. Is there any other questions about reputation management? Do you want to see any part of it again? I did go over it pretty quickly. Yes?
We missed the first part, the RSS track.
Well, you shouldn't have come late. I'll show you again. Okay. Okay, we covered the Google Reader, which is the end result. Google Alerts. This is probably, you didn't see this part here. So if you go to google.com/alerts, you'll be able to create any alert that you like on any key phrase that you like, and it will cover just the basic stuff that's in Google. It's not going to go off and get Twitter results. It's not going to go and get YouTube results. It's not going to go anywhere else other than inside Google, which, as you know, is a lot already. So it's a really, I always use it to start. It's a very firm base to work from. So you could type anything that you want in there. I don't know if I should do this. And then you can say, okay, I want it as a feed rather than email. I've got enough problems with keeping on top of my emails as it is. I don't need any more. So you create a feed based on the search term that you want. I can create that. Whoopsie. What do I do? I'll pick something else because I've already got that. I've got a new tool that I haven't done yet. So this is some software, a new software product of mine. So I'll create a feed for that, which will give me a good base to work from. So this is my list of feeds. Where did it go? There it is. So what I do here is I copy that feed. That's the URL of that feed. And I've got a tool over here that I created a couple of years ago that goes through the internet and mashes together a whole bunch of RSS feeds. So it's like Google Alerts on steroids, essentially, because I plug in my feed for Google Alerts, and it's going to go off and it's going to search all these other properties, and it's going to pull it all into one file. And with that one RSS file, I can watch that. I can read that one file. I don't have to read 10 or 15 different files. I don't want to sit there reading files, reading all different feeds all day. I just want to scan down the one feed and make sure, see if anyone's saying anything nasty about or even good about what. Because if they've said something good, I'll go and say, hey, thanks for that. That's great. If they've said something bad, I'll be able to then say, oh, look, yeah, I had a mistake there, I'll fix it, or totally wrong, I don't know what you're talking about. And then we have a discussion about it, either on their blog or on Twitter or anywhere where they're at. I go to where they're at, because that's where they want to have the conversation, not on the telephone. They're too frightened for that. So when I do a search there, what it does is it pulls in all the information it can get from Google Alerts, Bing, Twitter, anywhere and everywhere that I've got it set. Oh, what was that one? Delicious. You've got to watch those bookmarking sites, because if you have a product for sale on the internet and you have a download page that's not protected, and somebody bookmarks in one of these online bookmarking tools your download page, then that's open. And if somebody does a search, that may show up in the Google search results. But you didn't know that until you did one of these reputation searches, and then you saw it and went, uh-oh. So you either lock down the download page, or you ask the user to remove it, or you ask Delicious to remove it. They may or may not do that. But these are the things that you don't know unless you look. So once I've got this tool here has the ability to get those results as an RSS feed. So it's mashed all the RSS feeds from YouTube, Flickr, about 15 other places that I could find had decent RSS feeds that had information that I wanted to get out of it. I simply copy that, and in my Google Reader I add it as a subscription. So I subscribe to that feed, and every time that someone says something on any of those properties, the system will get added Was it this one? Was it this one? Can't remember. Oh yeah, it was this one. So here they are. It's mashed them all together. Google, Bing, Twitter. All in the one spot. And I could just scan down here. If I see anything there that perks my interest, I can follow that link and find out what's going on. What has someone said about me? So it's a fairly complicated process, but in the end, using these tools, it's very, very simple. Yeah?
Is there a way to simplify it? I mean, what if you had a website, that's pulling 40,000 people a month to it, and you're really active on across every social networking thing? Obviously, there's going to be people everywhere saying a lot of stuff about you. So is there a way that you can simplify that rather than just scrolling down for hours and hours, reading every little tag?
Yeah, well, you take out of it what you want to get out of it. If you want to read everything, you can. If you just want to skim it, you can. It's up to you.
But is there a way that you can simplify this?
I don't know how you would.
Okay, outsource it.
That's the only way.
So,
Someone's got to read it. If someone's written it, it's there. And yeah. See, the point is that out of 100% of that, there might only ever be 1% that's ever bad, or even less than 1%. So it's up to you how busy your product or brand is. It's up to you what you do with it when you see it. But these tools do exist to allow you to at least monitor it. And then, even if it was 4 weeks later that you then thought, oh, I really should say something about that, you've at least got the ability to know about it and then personally go and either write something on their Twitter feed or go to their blog and put a comment on the blog post.
What if they're really aggressive?
As I always say, just be calm, just be cool about it, because a lot of people who say bad stuff are trolls anyway on the internet, and they're just out looking for a fight usually. So there's not much you can do about it. Yeah, if they're aggressive and nasty about it, it does make you feel bad, but that you can't obviously alter how they are. So you can only try to be as passive as you can be without getting drawn into the whole saga that it might turn into. And the interesting thing too is that if it's all online, then there's a record of it. And so if it does go further, you don't want to be the one that has negativity against you when you've got records on your side and they've got records on their side. And it'd be pretty clear to see if you've always been nice. And I've had people complain about my software in the past, and I've just tried to be nice about it. Some people can't get over it, and that's it. I can't do anything about that. So,
if you were launching a product, say, in a month's time, would you be preparing all of these channels, like posting to Twitter and...
Yeah, well, just depends how you want to do it. Do you want to be the brand? Do you want to be a personal owner of that? Or is it a business? It's up to you what you want to do. If people have online and bricks and mortar, bricks and clicks, then they should use the business entity as the Twitter and the Facebook page and the YouTube account, and they should have a blog that they can communicate via in a business sense. And that's how I would attack it from that way. Just keep it all business.
If it's software?
Software, well, it could be the software author, or if you run it through a company, then I do mine as a personal author, even though I run it through my company. But it's just up to you how you want to do it. As long as there's some sort of mechanism that they can, you've got to make it easy for people to contact you as well. So if they do have a gripe, you want them to be able to gripe to you first before they gripe to everyone else. Usually if they can't get a hold of you, that's when they go, stuff it. I'll just tell everyone about it. And so I always make sure I've got contact details everywhere so that they're easily able to contact me. Then if that breaks down, then usually it goes to the next step where they then go online and forums and other places. Yeah. Any other questions about reputation management? And then we'll have just general questions. All right. Well, thanks everyone for attending tonight. I greatly appreciate it. And if you, what I'll do is I've got the video being recorded. So I did record the video I did on Facebook, and I haven't encoded that yet, but I will. And that'll go up, and I'll do the same with this one. I've got a new PC now, so I'm able to do that. And so if you've got any other further questions, then contact details again. Feel free to just shoot me an email. I don't mind. Oh, I lost it. Send it out here. There they are. All right, I'll just stop this and we'll break, have some questions and...
Never stop your video until you pause.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.